How's it going, everybody? Daner here with North Central Coins, and welcome back to another episode of the most rare and valuable coins in Canada. Are you ready to discover one of the rarest and most valuable nickels in existence? Well, buckle up and get ready to be blown away, because today we're diving into the fascinating world of Canadian numismatics. Join us as we explore the history, rarity, and value of the 1944 Canadian Tomback nickel that is worth an absolute fortune. So sit back as we discuss the story, rarity, and value of one of the most valuable Canadian nickels of all time. Before I do get into this, I would really appreciate if you guys would hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and also hit that bell notification so you can see my new videos as they are being released. In the past, I have made several videos detailing the rare and valuable coins from Canada, the United States, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and several other countries, and I'm going to be making plenty more in the future, so make sure to stay tuned for those. But what do you say we get into today's video and discuss the 1944 Canadian Tomback nickel? Let's get it, guys. The Royal Canadian Mint issued 3 V for Victory 5-cent coins from 1943 to 1945. These coins are common and inexpensive, but they have a very interesting history. During the early years of World War II, Canada's 5-cent nickel coinage remained the same, but the nickel was needed for the war effort. In 1942, it was decided the nickel would be suspended as a coinage material, and experiments were initiated to find a substitute metal for the 5-cent pieces. The metal alloy they decided to use became known as tomback, which is comprised of 88% copper and 12% zinc. The design on the reverse of the coin changed dramatically in 1943 to a more patriotic symbol supporting the war effort. The V for Victory sign was used, which represented not only the number 5 in Roman numerals, but also the hope for victory over the Axis countries. The Morse code on the reverse spells, "We win when we work willingly." The V for Victory sign was popularized by Winston Churchill, who started his campaign in 1941. The V for Victory sign made its appearance in France immediately after the BBC broadcast, where many French civilians began painting the symbol throughout the country. While the symbolism of V for Victory had a dramatic effect throughout much of the world, Canada was the only country to use V on its coinage during World War II. Almost 25 million of the 1943 Tomback coins were produced by the Royal Canadian Mint. The steel coins minted in 1944 and 1945 presented a major problem for the mint, since the extreme hardness of the steel planchettes caused the dies to wear out much faster than either nickel or tomback. The 3 V for Victory 5-cent coins are easy to obtain and cost only about 50 cents each, but examples in MS63 or higher grades of preservation are much more difficult to find. During World War II, the government had to change the metal to make coins, just like they did during World War I. The war-related industries needed a lot of nickel, so the government started making 5-cent coins out of the tomback instead. Nickels with the tomback composition will be yellow in color and have a 12-sided shape to distinguish them from 1-cent coins. The V for Victory reverse was designed by Thomas Shingles, and the obverse features a portrait of King George VI. So what do you say we get into the 1944 Tomback Canadian 5-cent coin, for which there is only one known example, making it one of the rarest Canadian coins of all time. Now, the 1944 Tomback 5-cent coin is a rare Canadian coin that was made during World War II. Because Canada was experiencing a shortage of nickel during the war effort, they changed the composition of their nickel coins to a tomback brass alloy. This 1944 coin is identical to the 1942 and 1943 Victory nickels, with a weight of 4.55 grams and being composed of the tomback composition. The only difference being that it was struck with the date 1944. Now, there are 2 theories about this coin. The first theory suggests that only one 1944 Tomback 5-cent coin exists, because the rest were melted down when the mint decided to produce their coins in steel with nickel and chromium plating. The second theory suggests that the 1944 coin was a mint error, accidentally struck on a tomback planchette that slipped in with the regular steel planchettes. This theory is supported by the fact that the coin is in a very fine grade, indicating that it was circulated for a long time, which is actually a pretty good sign for coin roll hunters and collectors, because considering this was circulated and was probably found in the wild, there is a small chance there may be another one floating out there somewhere. The Charlton Standard Catalogue of Canadian Coins lists the 1944 Tomback 5-cent coin as a pattern. but the 1944 Royal Canadian Mint report indicates that it was struck as a regular issue coinage. Until another example appears, if another example ever does appear, this coin must be considered extremely unique and one of the rarest Canadian regular issue nickels of all time. So what do you say we discuss the potential value of this coin? I'm sure you are all curious. Before we do discuss the 1944 Tomback, what do you say we discuss some of the other potential values of the other Canadian World War II era nickels? So first we'll start off with the 1942 Canadian nickel. Now the 1942 does not actually feature the V for Victory design on the reverse, it features the regular beaver design. The 1942 Canadian nickel comes in two different compositions. It comes in a nickel composition and a Tomback composition. Now in terms of value, the 1942 Canadian nickel can be worth around $20 or $30 in the low MS range and all the way up to $1,170 for an MS65 example. The 1942 Tomback is worth around $5 in the low MS range, and it can be worth all the way up to $1,080 in the high MS range. So the 1942 in the nickel composition is actually a little bit more valuable. Next, we'll discuss the 1943 Canadian Tomback nickel. Now this does feature the V for Victory design on the reverse, and it only comes in one composition, which is the Tomback. If you were ever to find a 1943 Canadian nickel in an actual nickel composition, then you would have another Holy Grail on your hands. This would probably be similar to the 1943 and 1944 steel and copper penny situation in the United States, where some of the planchettes from the previous years accidentally got put into the dies. But in terms of value, the 1943 Canadian Tomback nickel can be worth around $5 in the low MS range and all the way up to $1,340 for an MS65 example. Now there are specimen examples of the 1943 Tomback nickel that were sold to collectors. I believe they were sold 2 in a set and they came in a special velvet set. I may actually make a video on those separately because they are very special and unique and definitely a super important part of Canadian numismatic history. And I definitely have to say that when you look at one of the 1943 specimen Tomback nickels, it is just one of the most beautiful coins that you can ever hold in your hand. The finish on it along with the stripe is just absolutely beautiful. Next up is the 1944 Canadian V nickel. Now 1944 is the year when they switched up the composition. In terms of value, it's worth around $5 in the low MS range. It can be worth around $210 in the high MS range, so not super valuable for the 1944. And the last of the common Canadian World War II V nickels is actually the least valuable on the low end, being worth around $3.20 for a low MS example, but this one can actually be worth all the way up to $1,940 for a MS67 example, which I believe is the highest known graded example. If you do get a cameo attribution for any of these World War II nickels, it will definitely add a huge premium. I have seen MS65 1945s with an ultra heavy cameo that are selling for 1,000 plus. So depending on what you're going for and what your preferences are, some people would rather have a specimen strike or some people would rather have a really nice example business strike with a cameo attribution. And last but not least, we have the Holy Grail 1944 Canadian Tomback nickel. Now, nickels in 1944 were intended to be struck in nickel and chromium plated composition, but this one Holy Grail apparently slipped through the cracks, and usually when there is only a few examples of a coin, it will add some crazy value and premium to it as well. And when there is only one known example, you can be sure that it's going to be worth some really good money. The Canadian 1944 Tomback World War II V nickel can be worth around $88,000 for a VF example. So we are coming up to the $100,000 mark for a coin that isn't even close to MS. If you were to find an MS example of this coin, it could easily be worth $500,000, maybe even close to $1 million if it was in the very high MS range. So even though the chances are pretty much slim to nil that you will ever see or hold one of these coins in your hand, it's still a good one to have on your radar and keep an eye out for. But I think that is pretty much going to do it for this one. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and also hit that bell notification so you can follow along with my new videos. I would also like to announce that I partner with Lighthouse Canada. They are one of the largest and most reputable coin supply companies in North America. They have a website with a massive selection and inventory that can help in just about everything in your coin collecting journey. They have microscopes, coin flips, they have the best Canadian coin albums on the market. They also have solutions that can reveal the dates on your old Canadian coins, as well as clean your coins without damaging them. So if you would like to shop this amazing selection of Canadian coin gear, then go to lighthousecanada.ca, and you can also enter the promo code DANE20 at your checkout for 20% off of your order. I've also partnered with Charlton Press. They produce the absolute best Canadian coin catalogs that produce the most accurate information on Canadian coins that you can find, including information on the coins in this list. So if you would like to shop their incredible selection of Canadian coin catalogs, then go to charltonpress.com, and you can also enter the promo code there, Dane20, for 20% off of your order. So that is lighthousecanada.ca, charltonpress.com, enter the promo code Dane20 for 20% off of your order. I'd like to thank you guys all so much for watching, but until the next one, everybody, peace out and have a good one, y'all.